So hello again, everyone. Charles Banfield here with another Karate Canucks conversation. And this time it's my absolute pleasure to be joined by Sensei David Chong. Sensei Chong began his martial arts journey in 1973 while living in Trinidad in the West Indies, training in JKA Shotokan Karate under the guidance of Sensei David Chin Aleong, I think it is. Forgive the mispronunciation there if I did. Later that same year, Sensei Chong came to Canada to study electrical engineering at McMaster University in Hamilton, Ontario, and joined the university's karate club, which was led by Sensei George Miller and affiliated with Eastern Karate. The predominant styles being taught at this club was Goju-Ryu and Chito-Ryu. From 1974 to 1978, Sensei Chong was an active member of the university's competition team as a competitor, a tournament organizer, and also as the club president. In 1978, Sensei Chong also graduated from university and commenced a 35-year career as an engineer with Ontario Hydro, which is now known as Hydro One. At the same time, he started training in Chito-Ryu Karate-Do under Sensei Shane Higashi in Toronto, Ontario, and has been doing so ever since. He earned his Chito-Ryu Sho-Dan in 1980, and most recently his Roku-Dan, or 6th degree black belt, in 2015. And he also holds the title of Renshi. From 1980 to 1993, Sensei Chong ran the children's program at the Higashi School of Karate, and resulted in a lot of champions, provincial champions, and tournament winners, and so on. And since 1993, he's been the chief instructor of the Guildwood Chito-Kai Karate School in Scarborough, Ontario. Also in 1980, Sensei Chong commenced his journey as a tournament referee with the KOA, which is now known as Karate Ontario. And some years later, 1996, became a tournament referee with the National Karate Association, which is now known as Karate Canada. He's held several referee and technical committee roles in both organizations, as well as being the chair of the refereeing committee and the chief referee for the Canadian Chito-Ryu Karate-Do Association. Sensei Chong has also earned the rank of Nidan, 2nd degree black belt in Kobujitsu, under Sensei George Harrowton, which is a student of Sensei Higashi as well, and is a certified Jihong Tai Chi instructor under Sifu Jim Liang, and has proficiency in both the Yang and Chen empty hand and sword forms, Wu form, and Tai Qigong and push hands. So there's a lot going on here. Throughout his martial arts career, he's accumulated several awards and accolades, some of which include Referee of the Year in 1999 from the KOA, received the Master Instructor Awards from the NKA in 2000, and in 2002 was inducted into the KOA Hall of Fame. And on top of all this, Sensei Chong and his wife Kay are world travelers, avid ballroom dancers, eager babysitters of their 3 grandsons. And from personal experience, I can tell you, probably the best people to know when you're going out for dim sum. So
thank you.
So welcome, Sensei Chong. Again, and it's been a real pleasure to have you on as a guest on this podcast finally, and to speak with you again.
Thanks for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Excellent, excellent. So before I begin, I feel kind of obligated to disclose that Sensei Chong is one of my senior instructors, and was part of the evaluation committee with Sensei Higashi for at least a couple of the gradings. It may have been all of the gradings that I've done, but I don't recall that I've completed at least. And due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it's been a couple of years since we've spoken live. So this is a real pleasure for me today. So all that said, the way that these conversations typically go is I'll start with a couple of basic questions to get in a bit of information around your background, such as so where are you from originally? You covered a little bit of where have you lived and so on, but where are you from originally, and what prompted you to start your martial arts journey?
Okay, I was born in China, in the province Guangdong, in the county of Yinping, in 1947. At the age of 8.5, my mom and I moved to Hong Kong because at that time, thing wasn't too pleasant in China. People start a bit of farming there.
Mm-hmm.
So stay in Hong Kong for maybe 3.5 years until I finish grade 5 Chinese school. And then I moved to Trinidad in the West Indies to work for my uncle in his grocery store, and later on in poultry farm. Okay, so in Trinidad I spent about 14 years. Only at the latter part, I never been to school during the 10 years working for my uncle. So only on the latter part, as an adult student at the age of 22, I went to Port of Spain to basically to learn a little bit more English, because if you learn a little bit more English, then when you start doing your own business, then you don't need to talk to people to help you to write letter or to apply for license, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But after a year going to the evening school in Port of Spain, I was encouraged by the teachers in the evening school to go and write the exam. So I did. So the first year I got that time in Trinidad, you wrote they call the General Certificate of Education, or GCE, from England. Those exams once a year, either you pass it or you fail. So surprise to me, because I never been to school, in the past in Trinidad, and just go to evening classes. I got passed 4 subjects: physics, math, special math, and chemistry, and I flunked English. So minimum you had to do 5 subjects for what we call the O level. That's what they call it in Trinidad at the time. So a year later, the evening school, because I got 4 subject passed, they moved me into the next level in high school. So that was 2 years. So I did get a full 2 years high school in physics, maths, and chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
So the second year, I go back and write the exam one more time for the O level. Again, I also only got 4 subjects, and I flunked the English one more time. So then in 1972, that was my 3rd time trial. And at that time, I would be writing the other subject as well, including the English. Like I was writing those, you call the advanced level, which is here in Toronto, you call grade 13.
Mm-hmm.
And those exam actually is a little bit more advanced than grade 13. It's more like pre-university type of thing. So in the 3rd year, 1972, I got everything in flying colors. So I got the 3 subjects in advanced level, and most of all, I got, I passed English. And that's how I start the university journey after that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So 1972 to 1973, I taught high school for 1 year in Trinidad, the mathematics. And then in 1973, I came over to McMaster University to do my engineering. And the rest is history in Canada. So you probably know quite a bit of those. Yeah. I worked for Hydro for 35 years, and then doing all this karate and all this other stuff and traveling, etc. So
yeah. So that that was kind of your academic background on that. So you started, as I recall that I said in the intro in 73, when before you came to Canada to go to McMaster, you started training in Shotokan. And
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
I will actually I love to do martial art when I was a kid in China, because the other villages, they taught the kids kung fu.
Mm-hmm.
So I was, me and all my little kid friend in our village was very, very jealous, because in the old days in China, the villages, the kids fought against each other, different villages, and we always get beat up really good by all those kung fu village kids in China. So I always have a flair to do martial art ever since I was a kid. Yeah. So 73, I finally, because the association, the place where they teach karate is pretty well next door to where I live in Port of Spain. And at that time I was working, I was teaching high school, I have a little bit of free time. So I dropped by and have a look. I said, well, why not? That's how I joined. Yeah.
So you started there in January, I think, is what
Correct.
you mentioned to me
January
before.
7th. Yeah. Yeah.
And then so you would have had about what, 9 months of training before
No,
you went
actually, I only have about 6 months.
6 months, okay.
Because I trained until the end of June, pretty well. And I sort of missed the test as well, because they were supposed to give us a test in the end of June, and Sensei also didn't have time, so I sort of missed that test. And then because in July I came over to Toronto, and then eventually go to Hamilton and McMaster University. Yeah.
So you did 6 months of Shotokan.
Correct.
And then you come to Canada and you start in with Sensei Miller's team.
Correct. Yeah.
And so how was that transition for you? Like was it much of a transition, or was the emphasis on the forms of Goju and Chito-Ryu, or was it more the kumite, the fighting and so on, tournament?
Yeah, the school was more kumite, so there was not really much of transition for me, so it wasn't too difficult a transition, because we do more kumite than kata in the club. Yeah.
Right. And so the tournaments back then, were they, I know that there were forms and so on, but was it primarily the fighting aspect of the tournaments in your own experience?
No.
Or there was a lot of both? Right?
It's more like, it is not like the Karate Ontario or the Karate Canada, this type of official tournament where you have certified referee and all this thing. So the tournament that we set up is basically set up by us, McMaster. We call it the university tournament, but it's more like a Shiai type of thing.
Okay.
More like a Shiai than the tournament. So the main objective there is to get all the university and colleges, the people who do karate, to get together, and then we have some fun together. So actually, it was quite big. We have over 500 competitors each time, so it took all day. So probably you start at 9. I don't remember exactly time you start in the morning. Probably from 9 to maybe 5 or 6 in the evening, and then at 7 we start the final. Mm-hmm. So we would not finish until about 9 p.m. So it was a long day, but I think that people really enjoy it. We have a lot of fun, and basically my sensei had to go to Eastern, and then we invite a lot of the black belt from Eastern, as well as we invite many of the black belt from other university to judge. So the tournament, it was the old way of judging, so they go very fast. Each matches go pretty fast, so otherwise you cannot get through with all these people put for the day. Yeah. But a lot of fun. Yeah.
So the kumite, was it controlled contact? Was it like how would you describe the point schemes? Like you actually had to make serious contact with somebody for it to count, or would it be
the you have to at least touch the person to score in the old days.
Right.
And at that time, we don't have any glove, as you know. So, for myself, a couple tournament, my nose, my face were all bleeding when I finished. So I'm not the only one. A lot of people are the same way. In the old day, I think people that's the way how it is. People are pretty tough, So, but yeah, the scoring, probably the refereeing, etc., is is not as accurate or good as today. What you see in the tournament and control, I should say. So sometimes, people do get hurt, especially the nose and the chin, and the face, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you did that for 4 years.
4 years, yeah.
Okay. And then you joined Sensei Shane Higashi's school.
Correct. And that time was in Leaside, Eglinton and Leaside, that school. Yeah. In Laird, yeah. So
Laird,
and
Laird,
Eglinton.
Yeah.
In the Leaside
I know the area, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's the school. That was his first school, was it? The one that burned?
No, I do not know. Like, that would not be his first school. He have it somewhere, but that probably may be his second or third. I'm not sure which was his first.
Right. So what was the adjustment like there, going from the university club and the training there versus training with, training under Sensei Higashi and his senior students? Because
I found that the minute I joined Sensei Higashi's club, everything was so organized, all the technique, everything. So I have a lot of correction to do, because then I realized all this year what I was doing the karate at East, and the kicking, everything was all totally wrong. So it was sort of injuring my knee, etc. So Sensei Higashi have to correct me on a lot of these things. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I do enjoy very much when I start training. Okay, with Sensei Higashi till today. Actually, still love his training. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still training 3 times a week with him. So I never really stopped. 1978 till today, 2 or 3 times with him till now. Never stopped. Yeah.
Yeah. That's was that 44 years, right?
Pretty well. 1978 to
78 to 22. Yeah, 44 years, I think.
Pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good streak.
Yeah, not bad. I'm still able to train. I still able to do a lot of the karate stuff. So I felt pretty fortunate, because at our age now, many people I know that they already have hip replacement, knee replacement, etc.
Yeah.
So I am one of the lucky one, and a lot to be thankful for. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of the training, then I'm curious, how would you characterize, how the training was when you first started versus now? Like, you've been with Sensei Higashi for 44 years. We just did the math. Obviously time passes and we get older and so on, but have you changed your philosophy around training or teaching with beginning students, from young kids up to adults and so on? Or
absolutely. Like, even so, just talk about the training at the beginning with Higashi Sensei till now. So at the beginning, the training was pretty intense. Okay, a lot of the move, basic, kata, kumite, it was pretty intense in the old days. And but as we age, Sensei Higashi also, the teaching also sort of slow down a little bit into more tame type of training, be more focused a little bit on your technique more than the intensity, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when I'm teaching the student, when you're teaching young kid, you cannot teach them like you teach the old people. So definitely you're teaching kid, you have to use a different way of teaching. And the young people, you have to give them some action. Otherwise they be bored in the class.
Yeah.
A little bit of fun here and there. But when you're teaching adult, of course, it's pretty well, discipline, regular, traditional way. But with the kid, you have to give them a little bit of kumite. They love kumite, the kids.
Yeah.
You don't have kumite, you're going to lose some student.
Yeah. Well, that's what karate is to a lot of people. It's
Correct.
just the fighting, right? So, yeah.
So when I was teaching at Higashi Dojo, my student there, they get a lot of kumite opportunity, So later on in Guildwood, the same way, as you know, that many of my Guildwood students, they provincial champion, national champion, Soki Cup champion, and then even one student made it to silver in the Pan Am. So, he didn't make it. He didn't got anything in the world tournament, but he make it to the Pan Am. He got a good silver. So I have to say, they did quite well.
So what would be your focus then when you're in I guess when you're teaching? You said, Higashi used to be mostly about the intensity, and it turned more into more of a precise, technical approach to things. What do you think you attribute the success of your students to? Was it something, well, obviously it's something they have inside of them, but was there a certain approach that you took to them that allowed them to be successful, or
what I found is, especially for the young student, I know that many of the dojo, they may not encourage the student to go to tournament. But what I found is, if you have some student who is pretty good in competition, you took a couple of those students in the competition and they won some trophy, and that is advertising for your dojo. And kids just gonna rush into your dojo. Okay. Yeah. It happened at Higashi Dojo, happened in Guildwood. Same way. Once your students start getting some medal, the kids learn about it, they're coming out. So what I thought is for the young kids, for those who don't really want to go to tournament, don't force them. But for those are pretty good and you think that they have a chance and they can do well and defend themselves and they like to enjoy tournament, take them there. If you as a sensei, you don't take them, they wouldn't go. Just as I said, for the 13 years, I'm taking Higashi student to tournament. Everybody's so happy to go and everybody had a good time. But the minute I left Higashi Dojo to teach my own Guildwood, open my own Guildwood, then the other sensei who took over the kids class, they do not consider tournament. As a result, you don't have any more students going to tournament anymore, unfortunately. That's what it is. Yeah.
So it's fairly simple then, if you want people to do well in tournaments, they need to enter tournaments.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, that's what what I've seen. That's what I experienced. Yeah, basically.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get into a story now that I know the story of when I guess you were teaching, you were running one of the kids' classes, and you got to meet Osensei Chitose. Do you want to share a little bit what that was like, or what the circumstances were there? I already know the story, but I'm just setting it up, or I'm trying to set it up.
I had to make it a little bit more diplomatic because I'm on recording today. 1980, first time Osensei, together with his son, which is second generations, we call him Suki Sensei, Chitose, came to Toronto for a visit. At that time, I was the instructor for the Higashi kids class. So I think he came during the week, and he that was in the Leaside dojo at that time. So Osensei came up first to the dojo. Higashi Sensei and others were still downstairs. They haven't come up yet. So Sensei came up. He looked at, I was running the class. The kid was doing all the stuff. So he walked into the class and starts showing my student, how to do this and that. I turned around. I said, "Who is this? This gentleman, Japanese gentleman. He come and tell my student what to do." So I asked him to lead the class.
So I'm guessing he wasn't dressed in a gi or anything. He was just in street clothes. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I said, "Where is this old guy come in, to tell my student what to do?" So I asked him to lead the class. And at the same moment, as I was telling him to lead the class, and I saw Sensei Higashi came up, and then he just turned the face, put his hand on his face. I said, "Wow." Then I knew that I'm in trouble. But later on, of course, fortunately for me, I smoothed it out with some nice Chinese dinner for Sensei and Suki Sensei and Higashi Sensei. So everything was good afterwards. Yeah,
everything was
that
good.
Was that was an experience. Yeah.
No, that's a funny story because again, you would have been relatively new to the style, and you would not have met Osensei before.
No,
obviously.
No, I have not. Yeah.
So that's we've all had those moments.
Yeah, that was
that's a good one.
Special moments for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So as somebody who is trained as long as you have in the martial arts and not just karate, as I mentioned before, you've done kobo jitsu. You're actively training in Tai Chi. You're an instructor in Tai Chi and so on.
I also did many years of the Shaolin Qigong as well.
Okay. All right. And Qigong. Yeah. So here's a question. What would you say about the importance of tradition in training? Is it key, or is it central to being able to perform the exercise, the techniques, to learn the techniques and so on properly, or is it kind of an add-on thing to make it seem more, for say somebody who's not of Asian descent like myself, is it good for me to do the bowing and the learning the phrases and so on in Japanese or in the different Chinese languages that would be associated with the styles that you've learned and so on? Is that important, or do you think it's something that's just an aspect?
For me, it's extremely important because etiquette and respect represent a lot of the traditional karate. That's what we do in Chito-Ryu, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, that traditional bowing, traditional, pay respect to the showman, etc., is extremely important. And then you do karate, you should know some of the terminology to represent the technique. So it gives you a little bit more meaningful into the traditional way of the martial arts. So, for example, there are schools that they basically they don't care about the tradition, they don't care about the karate etiquette, etc. All they're doing there in the club is go there and fight, etc. There are many schools do that. Okay, so if you go to those schools, you're going to find that the tradition of the karate or the martial is not there anymore. But they just basically a fighting club. But in the question you ask is that important? I say yes, it's extremely important. At the same time, you learn the Karate-Do. In Chito-Ryu Karate, in particular, in our style, we try to teach the student not only just the punching and kicking, but the Karate-Do, the way of karate. So therefore, you have to have those tradition with it. Okay, and I know that there is still many schools in Canada. They still carry out the traditional way, which is I'm pretty pleased with it. Yeah.
Mhm. So from your own experience then, this I guess embracing of tradition and so on, has that helped you gain a perspective on, things outside of the dojo as well? Like you've had a 35-year, I think it was, you said 35-year career with Ontario Hydro or Hydro One. There's when you're doing anything for that long, there's going to be things that kind of come up, challenges, both good and bad, and that kind of thing. Do you feel as though your martial arts training and the embracing of the traditions of it, did they play a role in your career or in other relationships, I guess, you would have had outside the dojo?
Karate does help. Whatever you learn is in you. And so sometimes the way how you talk to people or you treat people, it shows the character of you. Mm-hmm. It does show. And if you look at many of the senseis, some of the respectful sensei, and some of the way how they do things outside of the dojo, it is a little bit different. They're very humble. If you look at them, many of them very, very humble, So because I grew up in the Caribbean, sometimes I try to be humble, but I know the Caribbean, the heat inside and all those things you grew up, I also have the Caribbean tradition in me as well, So sometimes you have to, the karate thing does help, like for example, you talk about Ontario Hydro, there is a lot of, like any company, you sometimes you have politics, etc., and sometimes you might be in the situation you might explode. So sometimes when you train many years in karate and you have that control, yes, sometimes it does help you a bit. Yes, I would say. Mm-hmm. And the other thing, what I find is that how good is that sensei? Sometimes it's not how good that sensei can perform a kata or how good he is in kumite. You look at him, that sensei, him or her, you just have to look at their student. A tournament or whatever, how the student behave. Then you can give that sensei a rating. So I'm very proud to say that what I've seen in all the tournament, our Chito-Ryu student always stand out in discipline and respect at tournament. I'm very, very pleased to say that. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. I often joke, and I'm half joking when I say that people, when people find out, or if it comes up a conversation that I study karate and I practice and so on, and people ask me why I do it, and I say, well, it helps keep me out of jail. Because like you were saying, I guess the keeps your temper, keeps
yes
a different perspective on things, and
give you more control.
I tend to save it for later, and I take it out when I'm training or if I'm doing something else, So, but no, it's I myself have found that it's been helpful for me to stay out of trouble at work and other places, because I can control my emotions probably a little bit better. So I guess following on the importance of tradition and training and so on. And again, this might sound like a bit of a loaded question, knowing your background, but what would you say is the value in exploring other arts and styles? So I know that I don't know about traditionally, but I've heard it said that, say back however many years ago, say in the 70s, it was, from what I understand at least, it was almost unheard of that if you were training in one club in one style, that you would go and train in another one at the same time. It was almost like changing religions. It's not, it was frowned upon and so But, over your lifelong study, you've trained in karate, you've trained in kung fu, you've trained in tai chi, you've training in kobujitsu, which I guess is complementary to karate in a lot of ways. How would you characterize the value of training in different styles or different arts?
So that's a good question. So for example, like karate basically, you talk about you training in Chito-Ryu, so you stay in whatever kata, different basic you do in Chito-Ryu in your own style. And if you would go to clinic, etc., or train with other sensei who is in Gojo or Chito-Ryu or Shotokan, you probably not going to find too much out of place because it's still karate. Okay, so basically it is still karate. Maybe the stance a little bit wider, longer, etc. Some of the other move, but basically they all still karate. So you don't really feel too much out of place, and whatever you learn is you probably notice, one style may use the hip action more, the other one might just, to stand a bit longer, etc., and a punch harder, etc. But now, when you get into doing kobujitsu, then after you do it for many years, then you realize now the kobujitsu is another extension of your karate technique into the weapon. Mm-hmm. So you have to, there's a new experience now. You need to know how to control and how to use the weapon as an extension of, your basically your body, your hand, whatever. So that is another level. And actually the kobujitsu is complementary to karate training. Yeah. So if you do kobujitsu, it definitely will improve your karate. A lot of the movement, the hip action, and etc., etc. So, but now when you get into a different martial art, like Tai Chi is a totally different experience, because now karate, as we call it, we call it as just like some of the kung fu as external. But now when you get into Tai Chi, now this is going to be internal martial arts. You have to use the tandem. You have to use a mind and a tandem internally with the internal energy, or people know that internal power, to move all your movement. So many of the Tai Chi movement you find that go slow is because they have to use the internal energy to move it. And that is very, very difficult. Mm-hmm. So therefore, it might look soft, it might look simple, but it's very difficult to do. So I found that over the years, Tai Chi is a lot more difficult to practice, and in particular to master it, than karate. Yeah.
So the value, though, of training in both, would you say that one helps the other? Does your karate help make your Tai Chi better, and vice versa?
I think is the other way. Is my Tai Chi make my karate better?
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. Because
not the other way around.
Because normally in karate you just punch, etc., externally. Mm-hmm. Now, when I punch you, I can punch you in karate internally. Next time you see Sensei Ferry, let him punch you. You know what I'm talking about.
No, I know what you're talking about already. Yes. I've received a few from him. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's actually that you brought him up. I know that my exposure to Tai Chi has been through him. I know he's been practicing young form, young style, I think, for a long, long time. And
okay.
From time to time, he will incorporate it into our training. And again, I've only dabbled in it very, very surface-like, so yeah. I'm not well versed in it at all. But one thing that I did notice right away is how it's really effective in for me anyway, the slow movements and in incorporating the balance and the smoothness and everything else really helps me with my grounding, like in making sure that my downward force is really prominent.
Yeah, but the main thing, Charles, as I said it before, the key success for practicing or Tai Chi is you're able to use your mind and your internal energy, your tandem, to move all the Tai Chi movement.
Right.
From internal out. Then you're doing Tai Chi.
Mm-hmm.
I am fortunate because I was investigating many Tai Chi school before I joined Jihong. Jihong is one of the few Chinese school, Tai Chi school in Canada that it focus on martial art Tai Chi, which is using all the internal energy to do the Tai Chi movement, etc. Okay, many of the Tai Chi school, they just do Tai Chi exercise. They just learn the movement, and mostly it's external. Mm-hmm. Even though they just look like Tai Chi, but they, many of them are doing it, for the exercise. So therefore, like if you join like a Jihong, you have to be there for many years before you can say that when you practice, it's the internal tandem and internal energy move everything. So I actually did a test in 2010. I was in the Mediterranean for the cruise in the Mediterranean. So I just want to test my Tai Chi to see how my Chi flow internally. So 5 o'clock in the morning, I went up to the cruise ship, to the upper deck where there's no one around. And I did the whole Yang Tai Chi form. We call it 85 movements. Some people call it 108, okay? Mm-hmm. So I did the whole thing using all my internal energy the whole bit. Guess what? Once I finished the form, while I'm doing it, I felt that the Chi started flowing inside. That is for me, for myself anyway, that's good for my health. And that is my ultimate goal for doing Tai Chi, mainly for my health. And the internal Chi flow is one of the main things to keep you healthy. Yeah. So I am very pleased with it. Yeah. That's why I'm still training. I'm still there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a good segue into another question I was going to ask you is,
sure.
What has kept you involved over the years? So you're saying obviously, the promoting your own health and so on, but you've, like you said, you've been involved in a lot of organizations, politics and all of those things, I'm guessing that it's more than just promotion of your own health, because you can do that on your own. You can do that training by yourself. What would you say has kept you involved in the organizations, and the teaching and being a student and so on for all these years?
I think it's my passion for karate. I can say that is my passion for the martial art that have kept me all this year in it. To doing all the politics, etc. That is just a byproduct of it. Mm-hmm. But the main product is still, the main training. Yeah. So all the other one is a subset of it. Come with it. Yeah. You just felt that you have to do something. But it's my passion for karate all these years, that for martial arts, that's what kept me in. So I'm 49 years now. In January, we're 50 years doing it. Mm-hmm. Doing it continuously, Charles. Never stop, so I'm still enjoying it very much till today. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say is now if you have one, what would you say is your goal now with your training?
My goal now for the training is more for my health now. Mm-hmm. So So what I said is, like the Tai Chi practice is important for me, very important for me now, because the Tai Chi, for sure, when I'm doing the Tai Chi, I got my internal chi, my energy flowing. So that is good for my health. Now, with the other thing, with the karate, at this stage of the game, I have to slow down quite a bit. Now I had to focus a little bit more on technique, more than, as I say, in the younger days on intensity, etc. Yeah.
Okay, so it's longevity at this point. So you're not
Longevity.
You're
I
not
would
going.
not stop. I'm going to be continuous. Yes.
Yeah. So whether you get your seventh dan or another teaching title, it's not as important, I guess.
Well, it is nice to have it if I can get it. So, but it is not as important as what it used to be. Like tell you the truth, that as you know, when we were with Japan, with Chito-Ryu, it's very, very difficult to get a shihan. Very extremely difficult to get a shihan. And it's, I'm serious now. Suki Sensei's sister, he took her, how many years before she got it in her, in her later part of her age. So getting the title and the higher dan, etc. from Japan is extremely difficult. But I was fortunate, so that we're able to actually got the shihan as well as got the godan from Japan. And then eventually I got my Renshi and sixth dan from Higashi Sensei. So as I said, even all those things is not, as important as what the old days. But if opportunity comes, still nice to have it.
Yeah. So it's not the end goal. It's a nice goal.
It's not the end goal. While you're training, you might as well go for it. Yeah. So like Tai Chi, I have nothing else to go. Just keep practicing and getting better. Once you become an instructor, that's it. In Tai Chi, but in karate, you can still keep going.
Yeah. So switching gears a little bit now, from being a practitioner or a competitor to a referee or an official. So in 2021 technically, but in 2020, karate was a demonstration sport in the Olympics in Japan. And I'm curious about your thoughts on sport karate as it is today. It's kind of reached the pinnacle at this point as an Olympic sport. Just curious about your thoughts on its effect on the future of karate. Is it a positive thing for the most part, or is it something that might be a detriment?
Well, yeah, that's a question been floating around for many years. Sport karate, like we have no choice. That's what the young people want, and also Olympic. That is the ultimate goal for the competitors. But from the Chito-Ryu, our point of view is, there must be something you also have to instill into the competitors. Once their competition years is over, they should not stop karate. They should continue going, to become an instructor, etc., helping, and then keep learning more and more of the karate itself. Like when you go in competition, it's just one aspect of it. You being physically fit, you have done, all the from a competition point of view to your ultimate, ability to win the medal, etc. But I think we have no choice. Moving forward in the future, it would be both sport karate and traditional karate. It would be hand in glove. It would be moving forward together, because not everybody is a good competitors. So therefore, that group, they will need traditional karate to carry them through, to carry them forward. And then the good competitors, hopefully, the sensei will have the wisdom to eventually instill in them once their competition, area is over. They were able to stay back and learn the traditional martial art karate. That's all I can say. I think it would be moving forward would be both, and it's going to be just like today. But the Olympic or the WKF, of course, it's a good thing, especially as I said before, if you have a student, they are champions, it will bring, a lot of fame to your dojo, and as a result, you would attract a lot of students. So, from a business point of view, hey, you have a couple star students, your business is going to be good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have business, how can you run a club, Charles? So you do need the sport karate, yes.
Yeah. So would you say then that the training for the sport karate should be incorporated within the traditional or the Budo karate, or should they be treated as two separate things?
When I'm training my student for competitions, for the national or international, I always have two separate classes per week to train them for competition. So I actually have 5 classes in the old days in Guildwood Chito-Kai.
Mm-hmm.
3 classes for regular karate training, because I still need to bring up students for their black belt grading, and then for those competitor who's good, etc., they will have 2 separate classes, basically just train for competition. Yeah. If you're training those guys just like traditional way, karate only, they would not win competition. They cannot win.
Yeah.
They have to have the full-time training for competition. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So then if I'm understanding, it has to be treated as 2 separate skill sets.
For me, yes.
Yeah.
I have to, even those students still training in the regular class for the traditional karate, they training the regular, but I have the 2 separate class for training them for competition. Yeah. That's additional training.
Yeah.
Is needed. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, this question always kind of fascinates me because it's, I don't have firsthand knowledge of this, but, I've heard many others kind of lamented the fact that, when Taekwondo entered the Olympics in 1988,
Mm-hmm.
and it stayed there ever since, some have argued very strongly that it has ruined Taekwondo, because the demand is for the Olympic style and not the traditional style. So the traditional style kind of gets pushed aside. Similarly with judo, I've heard similar arguments about judo is now all about how to score points as opposed to it being a martial art, is more of a combat sport instead of a martial art now, even though it is traditionally a martial art. So,
well, you look at the wushu and the tai chi, is the same thing, Charles. In a competition, in a wushu is for competition mainly.
Okay.
And then the competition tai chi, now they focus on athletic ability of the student, jumping, doing all those type of things. That is not the traditional martial art anymore. So you are correct in that. So Olympic, once again in the Olympic sport, they want to see action. They want to see showtime. So they had to create all sort of move to impress the audience. Not martial arts anymore. They're more like a show.
Yeah.
If you look at some of the wushu competition, how they're jumping and do all the form, those are basically shows. And you look back some of the old Shonan traditional kung fu with the monk, etc., totally different. So you're right in that thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I don't expect, that we'll figure out a solution here, but, I'm I'm into my 50s now. I'm not as athletic as I used to be. I certainly can't jump as high as I used to.
Yeah.
And all of those things. I don't know, I'm just wondering, for those of us who are kind of embracing the more traditional side of things, you know, how do we keep that alive when the demand is for the entertainment side of it, you know, the more of the sporting side of it?
Well,
And maybe what you said before is how you do it is you treat it as two things, right?
If you have a dojo, let's say you have 100 students, only 10 of those students is good competitors. 90 is doing a traditional karate. So traditional karate is still very, very important. So now, to keep the traditional karate alive is just like what we're doing right now, Charles. You go for grading, you get your next belt. That's the encouragement. That's the incentive. That's why they stay. That's the incentive for them to keep learning your karate in your dojo. You know, you have 100 students, only 10 is the competitors. But 90 of the students still doing your regular traditional karate.
Yeah.
And we already have a bell system. That's what kept them in there. That's what it is. Yeah. That's the incentive for them. In fact, for all the students, is the belt.
Certainly no argument for me on that. I think it's more where I'm going with this is more around how do we prevent the standard from being degraded? You know, like, again, using the judo example, if judo is only being taught, and again, I'm not a judoka, I don't know, I've never trained in judo, but using that as an argument, you know, if what you're being taught in a dojo is how to score points as opposed to how to disarm somebody, you know, how do we guard against, I guess, the art, if you will, or the martial aspect of it from being eroded, from going away?
Well, if you look at the WKF competition right now, when they're doing a good kata, still good kata. When they do kumite, all they're doing is they add some more, you know, different or more difficult technique into it. Still kumite, still good. All they're doing is control, that's all, you know. So they're still doing karate. So from what I'm seeing right now, even though people might just call it sports karate, but they're still doing karate. That's what I can see. You know, except that they training hard, they want to win medal as a result, you know. Some of the movement, for example, if you're doing a traditional Chito-Ryu kata, let's say the student going for competition, they have to go and do that kata. Then you will have to train them in a little different way than the traditional way, but they're still doing that kata, except they're doing slightly a little different way, with more power in a certain punches or kick or etc. You know, and then they might neglect some of, you know, our Chito-Ryus, some other softer type of technique, which is in competition. You don't want to see soft stuff. You want everything tough, hard, right? So from that point of view, you might detract a little bit from the traditional technique, whatever. But it's still, you know, from what I'm seeing right now, they're still doing karate. It's still, I say, still pretty good. You know, in fact, the kumite technique is fantastic right now. You know.
Oh, they're certainly very athletic, of course.
Yeah,
to be successful,
yeah, very good. You know, and the level of competition on the kumite is really much higher than, you know, many years ago. So you know, that's why I'm saying that you know, both sports and tradition will go hand in glove, and that's what it is. I think. Yeah.
So back to the original question, ultimately then karate in the Olympics is a good thing for karate in general.
I think so. Yeah. That's my feeling anyway. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe some people don't agree with me, but that's how I feel.
So a question that I try to ask as many people as possible, regardless of style and background and so on, is this one. So what would you say, what does a Shodan rank mean to you?
Well, a Shodan, as far as I'm concerned, a Shodan is a first step, into karate situation that you have learned many of the styles, kata, movement, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And then in a Shodan level, you would be on the first step that you would able to starting to teach some of the student at the same time to improve on what you learn, but you did not really refine it. So the Shodan is a first step into karate. So from my point of view is once I hit a Shodan is just the beginning of my karate. That's how I feel. But as you know, when I got my Shodan, I have started teaching, and that also helped me to understood the karate a lot better when you start teaching. I'm teaching, I'm still learning, I'm teaching and training. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. So is there, well, in your opinion, then, should there be a minimum age to achieve Shodan rank? So I know in some styles, and I think even over in Japan, from some of the other people I've spoken with on this podcast, they were sharing that a black belt in Japan is not the same as it is here in terms of the prestige. Like a black belt is, you can see 8-year-old kids with black belts on over there, versus over here there's a bit of a stigma or maybe an expectation attached to having a black belt that you are able to, like, in a real situation, defend yourself. Whereas I don't see too many 8-year-old kids, whether from Japan or anywhere else, that are going to be too scary, black belt or not, right? So, so do you think there should be, a minimum age to achieve a Shodan?
No, I think like what we have, 16 years of age, for official Shodan, I think is still good because you mature enough and you really not only just learning the technique, you start to understand the karate concept or the karate etiquette a little bit better, and you're a bit more mature.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, when you have 8 years old and you start wearing a black belt, that belt doesn't mean anything anymore, but for us, when the kids, they try so many years, like many of my students start when they are 6 years old. And by the time they hit 16, 17, and they got a black belt, they feel very proud. They already been doing it for so many years, and so they do feel a sense of achievement, So I know that for maybe, I don't know what's happening in Japan when they have 8 years old, get a belt. Maybe they're doing for business reason. I don't know, for business reasons. So,
yeah.
But I think from a traditional point of view and for the karate martial art aspect, I think what we have is pretty good. 16 years old, yeah. I think I'm hoping that we can keep it that way for our style anyway.
Yeah. In our organization, it's 16 for full Shodan, and junior Shodan you can get at 14.
Yeah.
Junior, I know some other styles they've set it so that like 12 is the earliest or the youngest you can get it, and so on. It varies, but other styles, they don't seem to have any limits either, right? So
true.
Or other arts and that. So just curious about
so
that.
I'm happy to be in the Chito-Ryu style. Yeah, I think we kept the tradition quite well. Yeah.
So just to drill down a little bit more, so achieving, there's a sense of pride and responsibility and so on that goes with it. So if I'm understanding you, the responsibility is it associated with being able to teach others, or is it associated with being able to control yourself and not inflict some of your skills on other people?
I think
what would you say is the responsibility at that?
I think the responsibility, know how to teach people probably a bit more from a teaching certificate point of view.
Yeah.
How to inflict on others, depend on the situation, right? So,
True, yeah.
and then your temperament of yourself and your situation you're in. But normally, when people like us, for example, because we have two grading system, we have the dance system, we also have the teacher system, like the Shidoin, Shihan, Renshi, Kyoshi, etc. So for me anyway, that for us, like when you reach a certain level of teaching certificate, you have a certain level of responsibility to teach the student, and then responsibility to help others. I think that's our responsibility. Yeah. The higher you go, the more responsibility you got.
What would you say is, maybe aside from kicking Osensei out of Higashi's class?
I'm not kicking him out. I just asked him to leave my class.
I'm kidding. Inviting him to leave Osensei's class that you were teaching. Yes. What would you say is your proudest martial arts moment?
That was the proudest moment, yes. I was sweating afterwards.
I'll bet. But what would, well, again, seriously though, like, is there a proudest moment or achievement that you can think of, from your 40 odd years of training and practicing and teaching?
Yeah, I think, from a promotion point of view, okay, my two biggest moment was, first is when I received my Shodan. Mm-hmm. And then the next one is when I received my my Shihan in Japan. The story goes that the test in Japan in 2001, I was performing in front of Soke Sensei, which is second generation Soke, and plus I believe was 6 to 8 Kyoshi. They were grading me, and luckily Higashi Sensei didn't go, So for me, if Sensei Higashi is not there, I am not nervous anymore. So it was showtime for me. Yeah. So I think that was one of a memorable, test performance by me, to sort of show up myself in front of Soke Sensei and the 6 to 8 Kyoshi. I just put myself out for a big show that day. I wasn't nervous at all, Yes. So that was a memorable experience, for the Shihan test. Yeah. Yeah.
And in Japan too, which it was in Kumamoto, right? You did the testing there, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So, related question: what do you think, or do you have a most prominent, eureka moment or epiphany, like through your training, where suddenly, you understood something, or you came to a realization that changed your approach to either practicing or teaching or whichever?
Yeah.
Do you have any?
Yes.
Any moment like that?
Yes, I do have some of those moments. As I said, the reason why is it was my Tai Chi that helped me to instill those moments with me in the Chito-Ryu, in the karate. Then I realized how much the internal power can help me in the karate way. So I was happy to be doing all these years for training in the Tai Chi. Yeah. So I do have those moments. Sometimes some of the concept is not clear. Boom! It just sort of explode in your head. Ah, that is what it is, you know. So yes, I do have a couple of those.
Yeah, yeah. Are there any that really stand out for you or are they too specific to?
Yeah, it's a bit too specific. It's, you know, it's a lot of time is more, you know, is more like it helped me on the internal part in the karate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most important concept for all of the martial arts that you have trained and practice? Is there a universal most important concept that you've?
I think the Karate-Do concept is the most important. You know, doesn't matter how much you know, if you don't have the karate way or respect others,
Mm-hmm.
good characters, good etiquette, you know, trying to humble yourself a bit.
Yep.
If you don't have those characteristics, you know, I don't care how many years that you're training, how high rank you are, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So it is the karate way. At the end of the day, it come back.
Yeah. So on the Chinese arts that you've studied, is there that same kind of formula as
No.
applied to them? I guess more.
They don't.
Can you explain the difference there? Because I've often wondered if because in the Japanese are very
Japanese very
codified,
rigid,
everything is very regimented.
regimental.
Yeah,
and I love it. I really enjoy karate. You know, with all their, you know, all their regimental, all their discipline, everything. You know, you know, I only involved in training in Tai Chi. Okay, so my sifu, he's a modern guy, so he is more free on a lot of these things.
mm-hmm.
He is, you know, he is all the younger generation, you know, and he's 60 now, but still, he's a open-minded type of guy. Whatever he know, he show you type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he does not do like karate, demand you have to learn and this and that and painful discipline. No such thing. You know, you come in there, you're like a friend, you start training. So very, you know, very jovial type of training environment in our Tai Chi club. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can only speak for our club because I have not really trained in any other, you know, like Wing Chun or other Kung Fu, etc. Yeah.
Right.
I can only speak for Ji Hong, my sifu. You know, he's very open-minded, very, you know, very modern style, very scientific, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of our Tai Chi training is based on physics. Yeah, based on physics. Yeah. Next time I send you the formula. It's a Newton's second law. That's what we do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Newton's second law. Okay.
Yeah.
Next time I find a little bit I written, I'll send it to you because you are interested in those. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Okay.
So well, you're speaking of your primary sifu, but I know that you've trained with another in the same style, if you will, but you've trained with a different sifu.
I trained another sifu in Richmond Hill. It's the same.
Yeah. So was his philosophy more the same, or was it?
No, the one in Richmond Hill is more traditional.
So what would be the difference there? Like the
difference
traditional
is my
Chinese?
sifu, my main sifu in Scarborough. He's a modern guy, and the one in Richmond Hill, he's a Chinese Tai Chi guy. He's more focused on the traditional way. So
Right.
when I go to Richmond Hill, I have to behave myself in the club.
So what does that look like? And I guess where I'm going is, how is it different from the karate approach? You know, you said that the Karate-Do is the main concept,
Yeah.
most important one.
Yeah.
Is it specific just to karate, or is it more universal in that, you know, the traditional Tai Chi demands the same level of regimentation?
No,
No?
definitely not. No. So, as I said, I have not trained with any of the old guy. Old guy means the 80 years old or whatever. Or the people train with the old master in China, whatever. I have not trained with those guys. So basically, even our head of style, he's a more younger generations. Okay, from Edmonton, our master who created the Jiang style in Canada. Okay, he's a more younger generation. So he based a lot of the Tai Chi etc. on scientific way to improve, and then they are very much open-minded to share all the knowledges with everybody. Whatever he researched and he learned, he share with all the students. But whereas what I heard or what I see in the movie, etc., or what I heard is in the old days, the Chinese master always kept some of the secret back and don't show it, which I don't know. Okay, I watched movie and that's what he said. Okay. But for my own style, all the sifu I train with, and then with the master I train with, they are open-minded and they will share whatever they know with you. How much you learn is up to you. Yeah. So I'm very, very pleased with that because, that's. I also happy that they're very scientific as well as they train with the martial art way of the Tai Chi. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
But they do not have the Japanese, all this regimented tradition. No, they don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can only speak for the Jiang Club. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's culturally very different, I'm guessing.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a question I like to ask everybody.
Okay.
And it's kind of a two-part or let's say it's two parts to the question, and you can answer either part or you can answer both. So first part is, if you could do it all over again, and specifically your martial arts training and career, if you could do that all over again, is there anything that you would do differently than you've done?
Yeah. If I would do it all over again, I would probably a wushu specialist now, rather than a karate specialist.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Because I still consider the kung fu or the Chinese martial art is the original martial arts. So,
it's certainly the parent to the Okinawan and Japanese.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if I would do it all over again, I probably, would train in the Chinese style first. Maybe later on, I also train in karate. I don't know, but definitely would be the Chinese style first because they have the kata, they have the weapon, they have everything, and they also have the Tai Chi, the Pat Qua, etc. They're all internal. Even the Wing Chun, Wing Chun is external and internal. My cousin in Vancouver, he is a Wing Chun master. He was one of the key instructor in Yip Man's one of Yip Man's dojo in Hong Kong in the 60s. My cousin's still in Vancouver right now. So he showed me some move is like sticky hand, etc. It's both internal and external. Like if you look at Bruce Lee, a lot of his fast punches is from Wing Chun, really short and fast.
Yeah,
all those are Wing Chun punches. Yeah. So answer your first part of the question. Yeah, if I probably do all over again, I probably would if there's opportunity, because in Trinidad there's nothing else to learn, except karate. Yeah.
So
what is your second part? Second part is the question again? That's the first part.
Yeah, the second part is there anything that you know now that you wish you had learned sooner?
Yeah, I would probably hope if I have opportunity, I would not only just do karate, tai chi. I would also do another Chinese martial art like Wing Chun, and then some of the Shaolin style,
Mm-hmm.
and the Chinese weapon. I probably would learn all those as well, because in Toronto there's a lot of opportunity to learn all those martial arts.
Yeah. But you were already bitten by the karate bug, I guess. So
Correct. So
yeah.
now there's no turning back. Do you know that all my life as a kid, I want to do dragon dance. Those dragon dance.
Mhm.
You saw that in the Soviet Cup '98, and I was never able to do it. That is all my wish when I was a kid till now. I never had that opportunity. Yeah, you have to do kung fu to do dragon dance. Yeah, you have to join a kung fu club to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something I always want to do. I never had the opportunity. Yeah.
Well, it's probably never too late,
No, not now.
You're only 75, you just turned 75 yesterday, so I think
that's
you're
more
fine.
traveling. Yes.
All right. Well, I think we've covered everything.
Okay.
In this, is there anything that you wanted to mention or add that we haven't talked about to this point? Or
no, I think we probably cover pretty well everything, Charles. Basically, for what you're looking for, because I basically send you the information, so you through those information you pretty well have a good idea. That those especially those photo is a self illustration representation of pretty well everything. Yeah.
No, the photos you sent me, unfortunately I won't be able to share them on the video and that, but there's some great shots in there of,
thank you.
From over the years.
Yeah.
I especially like the shots from when you were back in McMaster, sporting your orange belt with your trophy.
Oh yes. yes that year was a proud year for me. Yes I beat a lot of guys in the tournament that year.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I beat a lot of them because it's a big tournament, eh?
Yeah.
In '74, we have probably 700 competitors. Yeah, you had to go through a lot of people to get trophy.
Yeah,
lots of people you had to go through. Yeah.
Wow. Well, you were part of I guess a legendary school at the time. The Eastern Karate was renowned for.
It was, yeah.
Developing, excellent fighters. Wally Slokey, we mentioned him earlier, and I think Gary Legacy came from there, Sensei Legacy, and there's a few others, big names.
Yeah. The Eastern also hosts the North American Championship in those years. In Hamilton, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The North American Championship, they host many of those in Hamilton. Hamilton was a big karate city in those years. Yeah, so I'm fortunate to be part of the university years in those years, which Easterns were pretty famous in those years.
Yeah. Well, they're amongst the first for sure, and they were effective at what they were doing. So had some really good instructors. So.
Yeah, definitely. Sensei Slokey is a legend, that's for sure. Yeah,
for certain.
Yeah, he was we always invite him as our chief referee whenever the tournament. Yeah, I think he came down for 2 years as the chief referee for our university tournament. Yeah, we invited him. He came down twice. He was pretty busy in those years, so many competitions he has to go to.
Yeah, well,
he still make time. He still make time and came to our little university thing. So a lot to be thankful for such a big guy to still remember his root. To come back to make a bit of contribution to us. So thanks to him. Yeah.
No, that's one of the things that myself, I tend to really like about the martial arts. It's and it doesn't, there's only so many that make it, like Sensei Sloki has done, and there's only so many that can be world champion or whichever. But deep down they're all the same. Like within our style, our organization, I should say, there's a lot of very successful business people and members of the Supreme Court and others and so on, and and doctors, and yet they they still have these roots to what they've learned and so on, and
that's for sure.
And I'm sure it's the same with other organizations as well. Right. There's something about this thing that we do that I think you've heard it before. You sort of touched on it before, the humility, being grounded and humble and so on, and knowing where you come from and being respectful with that.
Yeah. But one last thing I want to say is, I do not regret it for being in karate for all these years. I really enjoy it. I still have the passion today. So I'm very thankful to karate also that kept me healthy all these years. So that is, I'm very grateful to karate for that. Yeah.
Well, I'm grateful for you to, agree, first of all, to be on, to take part in this. And it's always a pleasure speaking with you. And, I'm also grateful that, you've had this passion, you've kept it for years and so on. I know that I personally benefited from, learning from you and at the different clinics that we've gone to and again, selfishly, like I said at the beginning, it was great to have you on the evaluation panel when I was grading for either a Dan ranking or the Jun Shidon title that I went for. And always appreciated your feedback and
thank you.
What I like the most though is that you would teach me these little things, in Tai Chi you do this. And I'd be like, my arm, it's the same. So
thank you.
I like those little nuggets, these little enriching things too that you bring to it. So I again really appreciate your time today, and I look forward to hopefully soon seeing you in 3D, instead of just on the screen.
Okay, thank you for inviting me for this interview. It was a pleasure to be here, and I think you should keep up with your karate, Charles. Don't stop there. Keep on with it. Yeah.
Oh, I got to stay out of jail, so I'm gonna keep doing this.
Okay. All right.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Sensei.
Okay.
We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.